We're in a government shutdown, and I'm going to spend some time unpacking an SEC scandal of lost text messages. It's a perfect example for why the Democrats keep losing the narrative. Just like we see with the latest polls on the shutdown, Democrats aren't actually winning this fight. Neither are the Republicans and Trump. On the merits, you would think that the Republicans should be overwhelmingly blamed for this shutdown. They control the presidency, they control both chambers of Congress, and they control SCOTUS. But the polls tell us a different story. Why? It's because Democrats are still unwilling to admit when they're wrong. Last month, the Inspector General dropped a bombshell report. The SEC had accidentally deleted a year's worth of the chair's text messages. Just like when Hesketh's Signalgate broke and we couldn't escape news about it, you might think that you would have heard about this. But unless you're in the crypto world, you probably haven't heard a thing. And this year of lost text messages covers a period when the Democratic chair, Gary Gensler, was going on an all-out crusade against crypto, extracting billions of dollars in settlements from companies for not record-keeping their own text messages. And the SEC had been sued by the crypto industry to get access to those very text messages. Even if the Democrats aren't talking about it and mainstream media isn't covering it, you know who is? Crypto chatter. Who follows crypto chatter? Young men. And just because Dems keep saying that they're the party of the rule of law, the reality for a lot of these young men is that they see the exact opposite. They see the hypocrisy of Dems saying that they're the party of the rule of law, but when it's one of their own pretending like the same laws don't apply to them, crickets. Let's unpack this SEC scandal and find out exactly how outrageous this behavior was. First, the OIG report. It reads like 28 pages of bureaucratic word salad. But if you're used to reading them, it's actually a bombshell outlining all the dumb things that the SEC did to try to pretend like this was all an accident, and how many safeguards they had to violate to maintain this illusion of accident. First off, from the title, avoidable errors led to the loss of SEC Chair Gary Gensler's text messages. Translation, you're going to read about a lot of buried in footnote 12, you're going to see that this loss of a year's worth of text messages of an agency of 5,000 people only happened to one person in the entire agency, the head of that agency, Gary Gensler. All these safeguards needed to have been violated. The IT department ignored at least 4 reports that the chair's phone wasn't acting properly. The IT department never backed up the chair's phone. And when Gensler needed help with his phone, instead of backing it up, the IT department wiped the phone. At no point did the chair, who'd been suing all sorts of companies for not doing this very thing, or any of the staff involved think, wait, we should back up this phone before we factory reset it. And after the damage was done, rather than trying to report the problem so it might get fixed, the staff tried to paper over it. They had 12 contractors and 8 employees write a report that didn't actually collect or retain any of the logs of the phone, but instead talked about an operating system that wasn't even being used, and then blaming a team that didn't even exist. Presumably they thought no one would notice. Even worse, they don't report this to the Inspector General's office for at least 4 months. But before they do, they decide to get rid of the phone entirely. So then when the Inspector General's office finds out and maybe has the ability to do some forensic recovery, they can't even do that because the phone doesn't even exist anymore. The Inspector General reminds us it was Gensler's office that decided that the Inspector General could not even notify the Federal Administrator of Federal Records about this loss. It wasn't until Gensler left office that the Inspector General went to the Republican chair, Paul Atkins, and Chair Atkins decided within 48 hours of informing the Federal Administrator. And that's actually a no-brainer. Now, if the OIG report sounds bad enough, zoom out. It's important to put this all in context. In September of 23, they delete all of his text messages. But in July of 23, Coinbase, a crypto company, had already sent a FOIA request for these very text messages. And it's the FOIA litigation by Coinbase that makes this all so much worse. You'll see that the SEC goes from saying, we have 0 documents that you're requesting in October, immediately after the wipe of all of Gensler's text messages, to a year later when they're in front of a judge and they say, oh, actually, we have over 130,000 documents and it's going to take us at least 3 years to get through them, so we can't possibly even give them over to Coinbase. It's not surprising that Coinbase sued the SEC. In the crypto world, all of these things were happening. November 2022, FTX collapses. February 23, SEC sues Terraform Labs and Do Kwon. March 2023, Silvergate Bank and Silicon Valley Bank collapse. June 2023, SEC sues Binance and then a day later sues Coinbase. July 2023, SEC suffers a big setback in court over its first very big crypto lawsuit against Ripple. And in August of 2023, the DC Circuit smacks down the SEC in a big way over the Grayscale ETF case. That's a lot of things that were being discussed. And maybe you're still of the opinion that you want to give this Democrat, Gary Gensler, benefit of the doubt. Maybe this MIT professor who now heads this federal federal agency doesn't know how to back up his phone or how important it is to preserve these federal records. Let me disabuse you of this. Throughout Gensler's tenure, he had made it part of his mission to sue Wall Street firms for exactly this, not maintaining their own text messages. He extracted over $2 billion in settlements across over 80 firms. Repeatedly, he said, such record keeping has been vital to preserve market integrity. As technology changes, it's even more important that registrants conduct their communications only on official channels, and they must maintain and preserve those communications. He knew exactly what the stakes were if his text messages were to ever go missing. And yet here we are. And this is actually a pattern with Gary Gensler. Back in 2013, when Gary Gensler was running the CFTC in the Obama administration, another Inspector General's report came out about his handling of federal records, where he had claimed he didn't know how to check his work email from home. And so he sent over 7,000 work emails to his personal account. Yet we're not hearing anything about this Democratic regulator gone wild. But I want to remind you of who is listening to this, because Coinbase spent a lot of money and a lot of time suing the SEC. You better believe that they're talking about it, and you better believe that the crypto podcasts are covering it. And the young men who hold crypto at over 42% are listening to those podcasts, watching these Twitter feeds. And it's another reminder to them about how hypocritical and how untrustworthy Democrats are when they claim to be all about the rule of law, except when one of their own decides to break it over an issue that young men care about. Democrats still aren't giving people a reason to like them when they don't walk the walk and call out their own when they have these failures. And why the Democrats still won't purge this old guard that does nothing but protect its own is beyond me. It's like they're not even trying to win. I hope you found this breakdown useful and gives you a good example of why crypto and young men are at an impasse with Democrats and why this is a symptom of the overall problem that Democrats have. Would love to know your thoughts in the comments.